What if everything you believed about losing weight has been completely wrong this entire time? For decades, the fitness world has pushed one simple idea down your throat every single day. They said eat fewer calories, burn more calories, and the fat will simply disappear forever. They treated your body like a basic calculator, like simple math could solve a complex biological problem. They made you feel that being overweight meant you were lazy, undisciplined, or simply not trying hard enough. But that framing has caused more harm than almost any other idea in modern health history. The human body is not a bank account where deposits and withdrawals determine your final balance. Your body is a chemistry laboratory, and chemistry does not care about your calorie counting app. Inside that lab, one powerful chemical decides every single hour whether your body burns fat or stores it. That decision has almost nothing to do with how many calories you consumed at lunch today. It is controlled entirely by a hormone most people only half understand, and that hormone is insulin. Here is the uncomfortable truth that most doctors, trainers, and diet books never fully explain to you. You can follow a strict low-calorie diet and still struggle desperately to lose a single pound of fat. You can eat tiny portions, feel constantly hungry, exercise every morning, and still watch nothing change on the scale. That is not a motivation problem. That is not a willpower problem. That is a chemistry problem. On the other hand, when you understand insulin, you can sometimes eat more and still lose fat effectively, not because calories stopped mattering entirely, but because you finally started working with your biology instead of against it.
So, real weight loss is not about starving yourself into a smaller body through misery and restriction. It is about understanding how your internal hormonal environment actually works at a chemical and cellular level. To understand why most people fail, you first need to understand what insulin truly is and does. Most people think insulin is simply a blood sugar hormone, the thing people with diabetes inject every day. But its real job inside your body is far more powerful and far more relevant to your waistline. Insulin is the controller of storage, the master switch that determines whether energy gets burned or locked away. Think of your body as a system that runs on two completely different and separate fuel tanks simultaneously. The first tank is small and easy to access, always ready to give you quick energy on demand. This is the glycogen stored inside your muscles and your liver, ready to use in seconds. Think of it like the cash you carry in your wallet, always accessible, always immediately available to spend. The second tank is enormous, long-term, and much harder to unlock without the right biological conditions. This second tank is your body fat, the stored energy sitting on your waist, hips, and stomach. Think of body fat like money stored in a high-security vault inside a very cautious bank. Now, insulin acts like the bank manager who controls access to both of these energy tanks completely. When insulin levels are high in your blood, your body switches immediately into what you could call deposit mode. Energy from your food gets taken directly and locked inside your fat cells for long-term storage instead of burning. But here is the part that almost nobody ever hears, the piece that changes everything you thought you knew.
When insulin is elevated, it does not just store fat. It physically blocks the exit doors of your fat cells. That means when insulin is high, burning stored body fat becomes chemically, biologically, nearly impossible for your body. Your cells cannot access the energy sitting in your own fat stores no matter how little you eat. So even though you may have thousands of stored calories sitting on your stomach, your cells still feel hungry. This is why people feel tired, hungry, frustrated, and overweight all at the exact same time together. It is not laziness. It is not weakness. It is a hormonal trap that nobody ever explained to you. Most people fail at weight loss because they only think about what they eat, never about insulin. They snack all day long, constantly eat carbs first, and unknowingly keep insulin elevated every single hour. Every snack, every cracker, every sip of juice keeps pressing that fat storage button again and again. The vault stays locked, the fat stays put, and you keep wondering why nothing you try ever works. So how do we change this? How do we actually lower insulin without starving, suffering, or eliminating foods? The answer is found in a powerful and surprisingly simple concept called food sequencing and gastric emptying control. And once you understand this idea, eating will never look or feel quite the same way again.
When you sit down for any meal, your stomach does not separate foods by type or process them individually. It mixes everything together like one giant bowl and then sends it into your small intestine together. If you begin your meal with bread, pasta, crackers, sweets, or any fast carbohydrate, here is what happens.
Those sugars rush into your small intestine almost immediately and absorb directly into your bloodstream very quickly. Your blood sugar spikes hard and fast, and your pancreas reacts by flooding your body with insulin immediately. That insulin surge throws you straight into fat storage mode before you have even finished chewing your meal. Then, minutes later, when blood sugar drops just as fast as it rose, the crash begins hitting you. You feel exhausted, foggy, irritable, shaky, and desperately hungry again, even though you just finished eating a full meal. It is a biological roller coaster that traps you in a loop of hunger, craving, storage, and fatigue. And the cruel part is, you did not do anything wrong, except eat your food in the wrong order. But here is the genuinely exciting part, the part that should make you lean forward right now with attention. You can flatten that entire roller coaster completely without changing a single food on your plate tonight. You do not need to eliminate bread. You do not need to skip rice or count a single carbohydrate. All you need to do is change the order in which different foods enter your digestive system each meal. This is phase 1, and it is called the fiber firewall, and it is where every meal should begin. The very first bite of every single meal you eat should be vegetables, any vegetable rich in fiber. Spinach, salad, broccoli, asparagus, cucumber, roasted zucchini, whatever vegetables are available to you right now. Fiber does not spike insulin. It does not cause any meaningful blood sugar response at all inside you. Instead, fiber forms a thick protective mesh along the walls of your intestine, a slow-down shield for everything following. This fiber layer physically slows the absorption of everything that comes after it into your bloodstream today. It is like lining the inside of a funnel with a sponge before pouring liquid through it. The flow still happens, but it slows down dramatically, and that slowdown changes everything about your insulin response. After your vegetables are eaten, you move to phase 2, which is protein combined with healthy fats next. Eat your eggs, your steak, your chicken, your fish, your avocado, your full-fat dairy at this stage. These foods trigger the release of something called GLP-1, a hormone you may have heard about recently in the news. GLP-1 is the exact same hormone that expensive weight loss injections are designed to mimic inside your body. When you eat protein, you release this hormone naturally, for free, simply by choosing the right eating order. GLP-1 slows your digestion significantly, signals your brain that you are genuinely satisfied, and keeps hunger away longer. Now, and only now, in phase 3, do you finally eat your carbohydrates at the end of your meal. Rice, potatoes, pasta, bread, or even dessert can come last, and the biology is now completely different. These carbohydrates are no longer entering an empty digestive tract where they would absorb instantly into your blood. They are entering a system already lined with fiber, already slowed by protein, already partially satisfied by fat. Instead of hitting your bloodstream like a tidal wave, the glucose drips in slowly and gently like a stream. Research has shown this specific eating order can reduce blood sugar spikes by up to 73% measurably. Insulin spikes can drop by nearly 50% when you simply rearrange the sequence of the same foods.
Same meal, same calories, same plate, completely different hormonal reality inside your body after you finish eating it. You are not restricting yourself. You are not suffering. You are simply changing the chemistry by changing the order. Now, there is another powerful layer to this entire strategy that most people have never heard explained properly before. It involves a compound called acetic acid, which is the active ingredient found inside ordinary apple cider vinegar. For centuries, people across many cultures used vinegar to aid digestion and improve how they felt after meals. Science now finally explains why this ancient habit actually works, and the mechanism is genuinely fascinating to understand. Acetic acid slows down an enzyme called alpha amylase, which is the enzyme that converts starch directly into glucose sugar. When you consume a tablespoon of vinegar mixed in water about 10 minutes before your meal begins today, you temporarily weaken your body's ability to convert bread and other carbohydrates into blood sugar during that meal. In simple terms, you slow the sugar surge before it even has a chance to begin inside you. But the effect does not stop with just slowing starch conversion, because there is a second mechanism happening too. Acetic acid also significantly improves your cell's sensitivity to insulin across your muscles and your liver simultaneously. Think of insulin resistance like your body going progressively deaf to a signal it once heard clearly and responded to. Insulin keeps knocking on the door of your cells, but the cells have stopped opening the door for it. So your pancreas shouts louder and releases even more insulin, making the entire problem dramatically worse over time.
Vinegar acts like a hearing aid for your muscle cells, helping them respond better to the insulin already circulating. As a result, your body does not need to produce nearly as much insulin after meals when you use vinegar. Less insulin produced means less fat stored, less fat locked away, and more fat eventually released as usable energy. 1 tablespoon in a large glass of water 10 minutes before you eat is a profoundly simple daily habit. Now let us talk about something most people completely misunderstand when it comes to fat loss and physical movement. Most people try to burn calories by running early in the morning or doing long cardio sessions after eating. Both of these habits have value, but neither addresses the most powerful fat loss window available to you every day. When your goal is controlling insulin, the timing of your movement matters far more than the intensity of it. The most powerful time to move your body is not before breakfast, not at the gym, but right after eating. When you consume carbohydrates, glucose floods your bloodstream and has to go somewhere inside your body very quickly. If you sit still after eating, insulin gets called in and routes all of that glucose straight into fat storage. But if you simply walk for 10 to 15 minutes after your meal, the chemistry changes completely and immediately. Your muscles activate a special glucose transporter called GLUT4, which pulls glucose directly out of your bloodstream fast. This pathway requires far less insulin than the normal fat storage route that gets activated when you sit still. You are not burning calories through punishment or exhaustion. You are using biology intelligently at the right moment.
You are essentially vacuuming excess sugar directly out of your blood using only the movement of your legs. You do not need to run a marathon. You do not need to sweat. A slow walk is genuinely enough. The person who eats and then walks 15 minutes gets a fundamentally different metabolic response than one who sits still. Same food, same portion, same body, but one person is storing fat while the other is clearing glucose efficiently. This is not theory. This is measurable, documented, repeatable biology that works regardless of your current fitness level. Now, let us talk about something that almost nobody in the weight loss conversation ever addresses with enough seriousness. There is an important difference between what is called basal insulin and what is called bolus insulin in your body. Bolus insulin is the spike that happens directly after you eat a meal, the one most diets focus on. But if you are overweight and struggling, your real problem is likely something much deeper and more persistent than that. Your basal insulin is the background level of insulin your body maintains even when you have not eaten at all. Even while you are sleeping, even while you are fasting, your pancreas is producing a baseline level of insulin continuously. When basal insulin is chronically elevated, your body wakes up every single morning already locked in fat storage mode. The vault is closed before breakfast. The doors are shut before you have swallowed a single bite of food. This is why some people wake up genuinely starving even though they have tens of thousands of stored calories available. Their body literally cannot access its own stored fat because the hormonal lock is engaged around the clock permanently.
To fix this problem, you absolutely must create longer periods where insulin drops to its lowest possible point naturally. This is exactly where time-restricted eating fits perfectly into the strategy, though not in the way most people think. It is not simply about skipping breakfast or eating fewer meals because a fitness influencer told you to try it. It is about giving your entire digestive and hormonal system real, extended, genuine rest between your eating windows daily. Every time you snack, every time you graze, every time you take just one casual bite of something small, you stimulate digestion, you trigger a hormonal response, and you raise insulin at least slightly every single time without exception. People who eat 5 or 6 small meals throughout the day keep their insulin simmering non-stop around the clock. The bank manager never goes home, the vault never opens, the fat stays exactly where it has always been. But when you combine time-restricted eating, for example, eating all meals within an 8-hour window each day consistently, something genuinely powerful begins to happen inside your hormonal environment over the following days and weeks together. You reduce how many times insulin spikes in a single day, which alone makes a significant measurable difference, and you dramatically reduce how high those spikes climb when they do happen because your cells become more sensitive. This is not starvation. This is not deprivation. This is your biology finally working in your favor for once. Combined with food sequencing, post-meal walking, and vinegar before meals, you now have a complete and coherent strategy. Each tool reinforces the others, and together they address the problem from multiple biological angles simultaneously and powerfully.
Now let us take all of this out of theory and bring it into your actual real life starting right now. Picture yourself sitting down to your very next dinner, at home or at a restaurant with friends or family. Instead of reaching for the bread basket first, the way nearly everyone does without thinking, you do something different. You pour a glass of water, add a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, and drink it quietly 10 minutes before. Then when the meal arrives, your first bite is not the rice, not the pasta, not the warm, crusty bread. Your first bite is a plate of vegetables. Roasted greens, a simple salad, anything fibrous and available to you. You eat those vegetables slowly, building your fiber firewall quietly inside your intestine before anything else arrives behind it. After the vegetables, you move to your main protein, the steak, the salmon, the chicken, whatever your main dish is. You eat it without guilt, without measuring, without calculating, simply enjoying real food that your body genuinely needs. Then, and only then, do you enjoy the carbohydrates, the rice, the potatoes, the bread, or even a dessert. You enjoy them without guilt because the biology has already been set up to handle them far more gracefully. Then comes the final and perhaps the most underestimated move in this entire strategy. You get up and walk. Not to the couch, not to your phone on the table, outside, slowly for just 15 or 20 minutes. That simple walk is not exercise in the traditional calorie-burning sense. It is metabolic chemistry happening in real time. It is pulling glucose straight from your bloodstream and routing it into your muscle cells where it belongs now. Meanwhile, the person who ate the exact same meal but in the wrong order is now flooded with insulin.
They are sitting on the couch, feeling heavy and tired, while their body locks every calorie away as fat. You are walking, feeling surprisingly light, while your body clears glucose efficiently and keeps insulin low and quiet. Same restaurant, same menu, same calories, completely different hormonal outcome for two bodies sitting at nearby tables. This is not a diet trick. This is not a hack. This is fixing the actual root problem underneath everything else. The root problem has a name, and that name is insulin resistance, and it builds slowly over many years. Insulin resistance is not a character flaw. It is a physical adaptation that your body made to protect itself. Think of it like a callus that forms on your skin when you repeatedly rub the same area over time. When you constantly bombard your cells with insulin surge after insulin surge, day after day, year after year, steadily, your cells do what any living system does when it is overwhelmed. They protect themselves by becoming less responsive. They thicken their walls. They reduce their receptors. They start ignoring the knocking insulin at the cellular door. But here is the dangerous part of that protective adaptation that most people never understand until damage is already done. When your cells stop responding to insulin, your pancreas panics and produces even more insulin to compensate immediately. More insulin in your blood means more fat gets stored. More fat stored means the cells become even more resistant. The cycle tightens on itself, slowly, steadily, invisibly, until one day, losing weight feels genuinely impossible from the inside. The only way to heal a callus is to stop the friction that created it in the first place entirely.
When you flatten your glucose spikes by eating fiber first, you remove friction from your cells every single meal. When you reduce the insulin surge by eating carbs last, you give your cells a chance to rest and recover. When you clear glucose from your blood with a walk, you prevent the backup that forces more insulin production anyway. Over days, weeks, and months of doing this consistently, the metaphorical callus on your cells begins to soften slowly. They start responding to insulin again. They stop needing the pancreas to scream louder every time a meal arrives. Insulin sensitivity returns, quietly and gradually. And when that happens, something beautiful begins to occur inside your body. Your body naturally starts releasing stored fat because the exit doors are no longer perpetually locked from the inside. The vault opens on its own. You stop fighting your biology with guilt, and you start guiding it with knowledge. And the weight that seemed permanently stuck begins to shift, not because you suffered more, but because you understood more. Now let us address one more thing that connects all of this together and explains the lived experience of many people. Have you ever wondered why you can wake up genuinely starving, even after a full night of sleep and rest? Have you ever felt ravenously hungry just 2 hours after eating what felt like a perfectly reasonable and filling meal? Have you ever noticed that the more you restrict your eating, the more obsessively your brain thinks about food constantly? All of these experiences share a common origin, and that origin is elevated insulin doing its chemical work on you. When insulin is high during your sleep, your body cannot access its fat stores for overnight energy maintenance needs.
So it tells your brain to wake you up hungry, not because you lack calories, but because those calories are locked away. When insulin spikes hard after a carb-heavy meal eaten in the wrong order, the subsequent crash triggers intense hunger signals. Your blood sugar dropped, your cells are calling for more glucose, and your brain interprets this as an emergency. You feel like you are starving, even though your body is simultaneously storing new fat from the meal you just finished. And when you restrict calories hard without addressing insulin, your body simply slows your metabolism to match your intake. It is not going to let you lose weight by starving if it believes food scarcity is a long-term threat. This is why crash diets fail, not because you stop trying, but because your body is too smart to cooperate. But when you lower insulin through food sequencing and timed eating and post-meal movement, the entire internal dynamic shifts. Your body gets the signal that it is safe to release stored fat because the chemical lock has been disengaged. Hunger becomes manageable and predictable because your blood sugar stays stable instead of spiking and crashing repeatedly all day. Your energy feels steadier, your cravings diminish organically, and eating becomes an experience of satisfaction rather than constant deprivation. The biology of weight loss was never supposed to feel like punishment. It was always supposed to feel like alignment. When you align your eating habits with your actual hormonal chemistry, your body stops working against you immediately. It begins doing what it was always designed to do, which is maintain a healthy weight without constant conscious effort.
Let us also talk about something important regarding how long this process actually takes in the real world, honestly. You will not reverse years of insulin resistance in 3 days. That is not how biology works, and patience matters. The adaptations that created your current metabolic state took months or years to develop inside your body, steadily. Reversing them takes consistent, patient, repeated application of the right inputs over a meaningful period of time. Most people who apply these principles consistently begin noticing real changes within 3 to 6 weeks of starting. Not dramatic overnight transformation, but steadily improving energy levels, reduced cravings, more stable moods, and slowly shifting weight. The changes often feel subtle at first, which is why many people abandon the approach before it fully takes hold. But inside your cells, beneath what any mirror can show you, the biology is already beginning to heal itself gradually. Insulin sensitivity improves incrementally with every meal eaten in the right order, with every post-meal walk completed consistently. Every morning of time-restricted eating lowers your basal insulin just a little bit more than the morning before it. It compounds, it accumulates, it builds on itself the way interest builds in an account you never withdraw from. The person who commits to this for 60 days is not just 60 days further along than they were before. They are a biologically different person at the cellular level with a hormonal environment that now supports fat release naturally.
That is the kind of change that does not reverse the moment you eat a slice of pizza on Friday night. That is durable, structural, hormonal change that makes maintaining a healthy weight far easier than it has ever felt before.
Now, let us also acknowledge something that this approach gets right that most popular diets get completely and fundamentally wrong. Most diets are built on the premise that your relationship with food is the problem and food itself is the enemy. They tell you to fear bread, to eliminate sugar entirely, to count every gram of every macronutrient every single day. They create anxiety around eating, guilt around pleasure, and an adversarial relationship with something that should bring genuine nourishment. This approach does not do that. It does not require you to eliminate any food group from your life permanently. It does not require you to eat foods you hate or avoid foods you love for the rest of your life. It simply asks you to rethink the sequence, the timing, and the small habits surrounding the meals you already enjoy. The same pasta is still on the plate. The same bread is still available. The same dessert is still permitted tonight. But they come last. They come after the fiber and the protein and the fats have set the table properly. And that single change in sequence produces a hormonal outcome so different that the calories themselves almost become secondary. This is the most important reframe in modern weight loss, and it is one that science has been quietly confirming for years. The order matters more than the quantity. The timing matters more than the total. The hormone matters more than the calorie. Food is not just fuel that fills a tank. Food is an instruction that programs your hormonal environment for hours afterward. Every single bite you take sends a chemical signal to your endocrine system, telling it exactly what to do next. You are sending those signals whether you are aware of them or not, whether you are thinking about them or not.
The only question is whether those signals are working for you or quietly, invisibly, consistently working against you each day. And now you have the knowledge to decide that consciously, deliberately, and with genuine biological understanding behind every choice. So the next time you sit down to eat anything, anywhere, with anyone, remember what is actually happening inside you. Remember that your first bite sets the hormonal tone for the entire meal that follows it from that point. Remember that vinegar before the meal slows the starch conversion and improves how your cells respond to insulin afterward. Remember that walking after the meal clears glucose without insulin and keeps the fat storage switch from engaging after eating. Remember that every hour between meals is an hour where your basal insulin has a chance to fall quietly lower. You are not your body when you apply these principles. You are finally speaking its language fluently and clearly. You are not starving yourself thin. You are not white-knuckling your way through restriction and misery and punishing discipline. You are using science. You are using timing. You are using sequence. You are working with your hormonal chemistry directly. Build the fiber firewall first. Anchor the meal with protein and healthy fat. Save carbohydrates for the very end tonight. Drink vinegar before you eat. Walk after you finish. Keep your eating window tight and give your body genuine rest. Do these things consistently, patiently, and without expecting overnight miracles, and your body will begin to respond accordingly. Not because you found the perfect diet at last, but because you finally understood the chemistry that was always running underneath. Weight loss was never about being morally superior or more disciplined than the person next to you at the table. It was always about molecules. It was always about hormones. It was always about the specific information your food delivers. And now you have that information. You know what insulin does. You know how to work with it, not against it. You know that you are the chemist of your own body, and every meal is an experiment you can run intelligently. The control panel was always yours. You just needed someone to finally explain clearly which buttons actually do what. Now you know. Use it.